This is my friend Joe. He's the type of friend that says yes to anything, and when I asked if he wanted to run the Yorkshire Three Peaks, he blindly said yes, and chaos ensued. Morning of, it was time to get hyped. We'd seen other YouTube videos and knew that the road to success was paved with banter, good tunes and energy, and not once to be left out, that is exactly what we did. And with that in mind and a refusal to underfuel, we just got on with getting ready. And in no time at all, we were on our way to start the Yorkshire Three Peaks. Summiting Pen End went relatively smoothly. I don't actually know which way it is. That is, until I went to take my first drink of water. You see, like Smaug protecting his gold in the Dwarven Mountain, the bite valve was not allowing me a drop of water.
And then you've got to bite down as well.
I am doing, but there's like fuck all coming out of it. Despite this, we summited in just under an hour and we swapped the valves of my water bladder and Joe's second water bottle. It wasn't great and I still couldn't drink a lot at a time, but at least I could now drink something without emptying out a camel pack onto my face. During our descent, which is a mixture of steps, rocky paths, we were feeling lighthearted, and at which point Joe commented that he felt like Jack Sparrow and proceeded to sing the Pirates of the Caribbean theme tune as we continued to race down the hill, and he went over on his ankle. His concentration clearly more on Hans Zimmer's fantastical compositions than looking at where he was placing his feet. Dave, are you okay?
It will be.
How you feeling, Joe?
Good.
It would take another 13 kilometres to reach the viaduct, and we enjoyed the easy terrain. If you've never ran or walked this section, it's relatively flat and it allows you to catch up and just have a good time with the people that you're with, or get lost in your thoughts if you're on your own. But I do remember it feeling like a bit of a slog when I was walking. Halfway up Whernside, we took a stop so that I could make some feet repairs. And whilst Joe waited, his ankle silently began to seize up. And when we did get moving again, running was not on the cards. And I just want to take a moment here to say that continuing to press on was wrong. And as of recording, 4 days later, Joe's ankle is still not in good shape. Anyway, back to the story. Reaching the summit was bittersweet. It did feel good to know that our next section was downhill. And when we attempted to run across the ridge, we only made it to the end before Joe stumbled to the side of the path and sat down with one now very swollen ankle. Our Three Peaks challenge was over. I can hear what you're asking. Why? Why is this important? And I promise that this video of our failure does mean something. Because I really wish that when I'd started training and I started running, I'd seen other people fail more often and understood that one run going wrong or a couple runs going wrong throughout a 16-week training block is not going to make a difference to me crossing or not crossing the finish line of my goal race. But knowing that and understanding it and accepting it are two very different things. So what I want to talk about for the rest of this video is when this happens to me, what are the steps I go through so that I feel okay with what happened and confident that my training hasn't derailed and I'm going to get to where I want to be. Okay, my first thing that I do is I weigh up what happened versus what I expected to happen. So in the case of the Yorkshire Three Peaks, we already know what actually happened, but some numbers can really help put that together. The Yorkshire Three Peaks was meant to be my first marathon distance in this training block, and so obviously only getting to Whernside, that didn't happen. I was expecting around 6 to 7 hours of running time. What I completed was about 4 hours 45 minutes of running time, plus about another hour and 15 minutes on my feet as we got Joe safely off the hill. When you add that up, we obviously don't have the complete set of running time, but I've still got a pretty decent good time on feet of around 6 to 7 hours, which is not something to be shy about. And of course, In those two summits, there was still 1,167 metres of ascent covered, which I was not going to get that running around Skipton, let's be honest. Okay, so I've weighed up what did I expect and what actually happened. The next thing that I like to do is look at my training from a more broader perspective than just this one run. So thinking about the weeks leading up to it, how have I been doing, and have I had to make any training adjustments afterwards because of the event? There's a couple questions that I like to ask myself this one. The biggest one is, was I facing some sort of mental battle? I'd been struggling every single run recently as I hit about 10 to 12k. That seems to be my mental barrier at the minute. It can move, it depends. But today, no, it was really good to run with someone else. I do still get that blocker, even running with other people, it's worth noting. But I didn't have that running with Joe, and that was really nice. Thinking back over the last few weeks of training, I did miss my last long run when we were in Iceland. This is a bit of a bummer because 2 long runs in a row is pretty significant. I guess my only solace here is that this long run matched up with the distance I was meant to complete when we were in Iceland. So I'm already thinking, is there a little bit of training shuffling that I can do in the future that's still going to get me to where I want to be for the race day? And I have been keeping on top of my speed training and my strength training, either at home, at the gym, on the hills, on the flat. So this is the only area of my training that's suffering right now, and a little bit less than what I want it to be. The final question is, in the context of this run, or if it's a race that you DNF, this race, what have I learned and can I take to next time that I do this kind of thing? The big blaring red flag for me is that there is something wrong with my camel pack. I need to be able to drink from it, and I'm not quite sure what it is. So number 1 on my list when I got back was write an email to customer support and ask what the hell is going on. Another really cool thing is that I was specifically looking at how solid food was digesting on this run, and I was feeling okay. I'm kind of following the principle with fueling at the minute that is, eat as much as I can without making myself sick, because especially earlier on in a run, you're going to find that your body can digest things a lot better than later on when foods become less palatable, you're more tired and you're still on the go, so there's less energy going to your stomach. This is a caveat because I'm filming, but one thing I have noted was that I kept forgetting to turn the GoPro off, and then sometimes kept forgetting to turn it on, which is pretty good for me. I've got some good footage, and I'm really glad to have a really big SD card. But if I do that on race day, which I also want to record for you guys, I need to remember where I've put the battery so that changing it over is going to be a bit easier. Okay, so you've done all of the above. You've assessed what happened versus what you expected to happen. You've looked at your training around the event, what's training like afterwards, what was training like before, and you've established any lessons that you can take specifically from this run to use in your next one. Final thing to do is take action. Some people might not have action. If you're happy with how your training is and the run wasn't that far off, one missed thing doesn't make a difference. But if you need a little bit of mental reassurance, you might decide, I'm going to do a little something extra. But I woke up on Sunday and it was the last thing I wanted to do, because we still have lives outside of training, and taking off 1 full day to go do a run versus 1 full day and then the next morning are completely different things. In the end, me and Tom went out for a 5k and it was really nice. I got my legs moving, I still felt good, and at least I was getting a little bit of tired leg practice, even if the distance wasn't the same. At the end of the day, it's the consistency in your training that's going to get you across the finish line. Anyway, I really hope that this video about our recent fail can reassure some people out there that this shit happens, it's good, everything's fine. Happy running, and remember that you got this.